So, but we'll start with creating custom reports, I think. And then we already did see how to run a simple report, how to copy a simple report, and then going ahead, I think we have the create custom report things, different type of report type. I will explain you later. So I prepared a different document for you, just for you guys to see what are the different types of reports available to us. Of course, we know there are simple reports and there are advanced reports, but other than those, there are composite reports, which fall under the reporting domain of Workday. So there are composite reports, there are matrix reports, but for the scope of Workday integrations, all we need to do is focus upon advanced reports. I'll just let you know and show you what are the different drop downs available. So if you'll go there and see, there will be something like a composite report. So what is a composite report? It's a combination of multiple reports into one report. Each sub-report can have a different data. Okay. The examples are budget, work by quarter. And then there are matrix reports. What are matrix reports? Like group and summarization, data by one or two fields that contain repeating values. So it's basically a matrix of numbers that comes up when you run the report. These are the different kinds of data visualization you can do using Workday reporting. That's like a different domain from what integrations do. Integrations do is like work always on advanced reports and then use these advanced reports into your integrations, be it an EIB, be it a studio. You will be using only the advanced reports.
Can you just show us how it looks like in the tenant, if there are any?
Sure. I will. Let me see if we have you.
So composite reports are like they're a combination of custom reports?
Right. They're like multiple. You can have two custom reports or two simple reports, then they will be tied against each other and shown as one. Like you can have, as I say compensation data in one report, employment data or employee hiring data in one report, and then you can combine them and send them. It's like a join for, you can say, tables.
Got it.
Let me see if anything available. Otherwise, import later all reports from board and the transaction. You see, there are different tabs available, like the table, the rows of the table, and all rows, all data rows, calculation rows, combined data rows. I will see if we can have the definition as well. So if you remember, mostly when we go here, if we have this, see the different kind of this report, maybe it will look like something like this. You will have an inventory location, then the adjustment count, convert count. If you move, I believe these are the different fields that have been incorporated from different reports. Control fields as location, C1, and then you go in here and you can edit the headers. You can give the business object and rows. What you can do is go ahead and make go like all rows. And these are the different rows available for you when you run the report. This is inventory location. And if you want to add a column, you will add a control field, everything after what one you want to add. And when we the override is what you want to display the control. And if you want to edit this, you can go from here and get the data or calculation from here.
So how two objects are getting joined?
Even I would say I've not worked much on composite reports, as I told you. But what we have usually seen is somewhere like, I think here is a column name. What is it? Reporting column. And then there is sub-report name, you see, and there are sub-reports being used in here for getting the counts and the details within this report, sub-report inventory transactions. This is one of the other reports that is being used. And then there is main object like inventory location, which is a different object. This is being pulled over here from the location business object is being pulled over here. And then for count, we are using another report. So this is basically how setup would look like. But yes, For the purpose of this course or the scope of this course, we would not go apart just knowing the descriptions about this, because you will never be using these reports, at least in the scope of your integrations. If you want to go ahead and get a reporting certification, or you want to start your career in the reporting domain, that's where you get to know about these uh, different kind of custom reports. Even when you go for Workday integration certification, they will just give you a brief introduction what these are, and then show you a simple report and an advanced report. And from there on, because that's like the advanced reports is basically where we start our EIBs.
I have a for integration, we required more knowledge on reporting as well, like more advanced knowledge in reporting.
No, I think that's what all we need is knowledge of advanced reports, like
Okay.
how to create an advanced report, how to copy standard report into a custom report, and then maybe change the different fields. Even simple reports, I would say, not being used, because you cannot use them in a integration. But only an advanced report which has been enabled as a web service, only those can be used within your EIBs.
Okay, but we won't create like huge calculated fields like in
You'll be
advanced.
creating, yeah. Those are the concepts within an advanced report, like different kinds of calculated fields that are available. We will be going through those as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
I think those are the main critical things. Whatever is delivered by Workday, you can easily just drop and search, but creating a calc field, say looking for a value which is not directly available from a primary business object or a related business object, that's where a calculated field like a lookup related value, a value which is related to a different business object, can be brought in. So those are some certain things we'll have to see.
Okay, got it.
I think it was Tejasvi, right, who was asking this. So I think
Yeah,
Tejasvi,
Aryan.
yeah, but even I wouldn't have much details or knowledge about these different types of reports, because those are certain things which belong to the reporting scope of our Workday. But yeah, in terms of what different kinds of reports are there, I can tell you is like there is a matrix reports, there is a composite reports, and box is something I would say there are two-dimensional numbers which comes up. Those are N-box reports. Search is like there are instances of being searched, and there are trending reports and transforms. I think last one is transpose report. Transpose is like rows become columns, columns become rows. I'll start with an example where we create a simple custom report. Okay, and that's why I wanted you guys to have a access to the tenant so that we can do a small activity for you guys to get familiar with it. So how it is different and what all things we can do. Not responding well. We'll first create a custom report using the task create custom report. We will give this a name. So coming to the name, so usually what Workday does, or like say if you are having an implementation project, and then if we are not aware, there's a thing called DA review, or the Workday review that happens during or after your SIT has been completed, or during your UAT cycle. That Workday reviews your integrations and integration objects. From integration objects, I mean your calculated fields, your reports, your business processes, and everything which is related to an integration. They review that, and one of the key things or key factors they look is into is some kind of a naming standard is being followed or not. So usually what clients do is like follow a definite naming standard. Like for integration, they will follow something as INT and then a number, and then the different type of like the type of connector or the type of integration it is. Say it is an EIB, so it will say underscore EIB, and then the name of the report or integration they want to keep. Similarly, if it's a core connector, they will say CCW, and then the name of the integration. If they want to say have a particular integration built up for XYZ vendor, they will say CCW underscore XYZ, and then outbound or inbound. It's an if the type of integration, say if it's an CCWs are always outbound, but an EIB can be an inbound integration. It will say inbound or outbound to determine the flow of the data. So those are the things we need to follow. For reports, we generally begin with the custom report, and then say we'll put in, for this example, we'll put in simple and then employ. Okay, so I'll go in here. I think I have used this as an example. So can anyone help me what this tick is for, the optimize for performance?
Index.
Okay. So if I do not select this, will it give me more data sources or less data sources for me to be able to select?
More data sources, and it is like an index.
Right. So if this is ticked, like if you want to work on only index data sources, then you usually go with this tick on. Otherwise, if there is a different kind of data source which is non-indexed and you want to use it, you will have to deselect this tick, and then only you will be able to select the data source from the drop down. Yeah. Going ahead, I think since we have simple reports, we will have only certain fields or tabs. We will have employee. I want to add a field. I want to now have a filter on the date of birth, set of conditions which are available for us to here. We have only, since it's built on the worker business object, the kind of fields available for us to select in the filter on a simple report become limited. So say if I want to do a filter on date of birth, I cannot do with a simple report. So all I have is just get the data from all active workers in the tenant.
Could you repeat that? What did you say?
I'm saying
Why were not able to select the filter?
there are limited fields for us since it's a simple report. If you see, there were limited fields for us to directly select from the report data. You see, so you again.
How can we see which fields are there?
You can just go to the filter and see the different type of, say, if you want to select and get a filter on any of these, see the number of items become less, right? You can see all the fields available for you to use as a filter. So like we use date of birth, but if I'll go and see date of birth is not available for us to select it for the filter field in a simple report. That's where we cover the use case of advanced reports comes in.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Got it.
Yes. So what we did is get all the thing there is the program. Why it is not working? Let me just find the employee. Okay, so this is a simple report. So what it will do is give all the employees within the tenant having birthdays, having their employee data if the birthday is available in the tenant. So if you see, these are certain fields or people whose date of birth is not coming up. But say there is a requirement that you want to have a report where the birthdays or the date of birth is available only for a period of time. Say you want to look whoever had a birthday between or since 2000, the year 2000, 1st of January till date, anyone whose date of birth is after that. So what you'll do is you'll go ahead and create an advanced report, not a simple report, because as we see, that filter date of birth is not available for us. So again, we will do is
Can we convert that simple report into, sorry, Aryan?
Yeah.
Can we convert that simple report into advanced report?
I don't think we have, if we go ahead with this now, right? If you see, the only thing we have available is selecting the data source, which again depends upon the primary business object. We cannot do any changes after we have initially created the definition, right?
Okay.
If we discussed in the previous class that only the data source or the data source filter can be changed at this stage. No other thing can be changed if it's already selected on the initial setup page.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, I will go here and put the name as advanced and then put adding what we have. Employee will see, will use the same data source, and now we'll be able to see how different advanced report or different possibilities or things we can do in an advanced report. So we're using the same data source. Now you will see a whole lot of fields that are available for you within the filter or the field now. Okay. So okay. So this is the primary business object which automatically pops in the first field, and then you'll have to select the field in the second column. This column is basically, if you see a report, this states like first name, but if you want to say rename this one as F name as a code for your, and then we'll later on see how the output would name. 1 second, I think that was first name, so I will first use that right field here. Okay, yeah, EMP ID, that is date of birth, right? Okay, I'll give this the name as the header as DOB. Okay, so now I'll show you how a report can be enabled as a web service. If you see here on the advanced tab, there is a tick called enable as a web service. So this is required when we use the integration reports in any of the studios or EIB. It is enabled as a web service. It cannot be used in a EIB. Only advanced reports which are enabled as a web service are available for us. Okay? So going ahead now, we'll see if it is available, the date of birth is available for us to be filtered or not. What is okay. Could be what is happening. Did another support earlier. My director support okay, we go on to this report. It does not come. Okay. What's the business object? The birth, the name, my performance, and take this. Okay. Now we are having, so one of the things we can do using a advanced report is like, instead of just having a fixed definition, I don't want you to have a fixed definition that this report for a particular time period. I want to have the flexibility of running this report into different date ranges which I give or which I input while running the report. And one of the issues, as you see, like what we faced as we are working on index to data sources is like, since the data source was indexed and we had ticked the optimized for performance, so only the fields which are available to us are also like indexed. So in those cases, if you untick this, there would be a larger number of fields that would be available for you. So say, you see, clearing the checkbox enables you to select a non-indexed data source and non-indexed. This field might have been an indexed field. That's why it was not getting to us for selection under this. So I told you, we can definitely prompt the user while running this report. So what we will do is like have a operator. If you see, different kind of operators are there. Is blank, is not blank, equal to, not equal to. I just want to have the birthdays in a date range. So what I'll do is like put it in a greater than and less than equal to kind of prompt values. So I'll see the birthday should be greater than. So I'll select from the user for the value. Okay, and this is default prompt, but default prompt is something, if there is only one prompt, you can keep the label as. This is for us to identify which prompt is being called in the filter. So if I'll again go ahead and select date of birth to have a condition of, okay, now I'll put less than or equal to, just to put it in a date range. I will again prompt the user for a value. Okay, now since these will become only like a default prompt, labels are being available here on the prompt tab. We'll see how these work. So just to differentiate that the start date or the first row on our filters prompt to a different, like look up for a different prompt, and the other one looks up to a different prompt. Will put the default labels as say starting prompt and ending prompt based on the logic that we want a starting date, so that birthday should be greater than or equal to. So we'll put the starting prompt, and should be an ending prompt that the birthday should be less than or equal to. Okay, so going to the prompt where we'll have to select these prompt values, is like we'll go to the prompt tab. We will and tick this box just to see all the different kinds of prompts available. So now you see, instead of just two, the starting prompt and the ending prompt, and the date of birth which we selected from the date of birth, there are three inbuilt prompts which are already populated. So how do they get populated is because these are built on the data. So these have certain details. I think I showed you, right? prompts for worker type, employee type, and contingent worker type. So these are the 3 prompts which are inbuilt on the data source or the report. So whenever you populate the undefined prompt, it will automatically pop in. So what we'll do is just be concerned with the kind of customization we do or we want to do. So the 2 prompts we have to focus is like the starting prompt and the ending prompt. Okay. So from here I will say no default value, same. And if you want to have a default value and start with 1st January of this year, then you will say define that in the determine value at runtime and then specify a default value. If you specify a default value, say 1st January of 2025, if you put this, so whenever you run the report, the selection of the starting prompt of the start date will start automatically be 01/01/2025. What is prompt label? So prompt label is something which comes up when you run the report. So the report, the label tag or the prompt tag is starting prompt, but you want to put the date as or the label as start date and this one as end date. So this would be user friendly that these are the start and the end dates you are running the report for. And again, go back to no default values because I do not want to. So now these are certain options available to you. So it's a required field or not. So if you enable this, that it is a required, say, I would enable required as yes, then you won't be able to run the report without selecting or prompting values or criteria. Do not run prompt at runtime is something. Do not show that these won't be available. So say you do not want to use the default prompts that were available and you just want to run for the whole population. I will try to hide one of the prompts, which is contingent worker. Okay, I will enable this as do not show.
Can I delete the prompt completely instead of selecting the checkbox?
No, like the default prompts, you will be able to delete, but they will still be there. You cannot remove the defined prompt. But these you can delete if you want to like have a different kind of customization. But if you delete this, then our logic where we are selecting the date ranges will not work and it will error out. Okay, so you see, just take a note that we have only made required the starting date or the start date prompt and we are not showing the contingent worker. So how different it will look like. Okay. Now you see there are errors being popped up on this report. Prompt label XML alias must be unique. So label alias coming up for us. Like this. The alerts are like something you cannot proceed with. So I cannot go ahead and save those reports when the red alerts are there. And if an orange alert is just a warning, so it's saying the optimization is not turned on. So if you want to work on optimized data sources, then you'll have to. So now, even when there is a orange alert, you will be able to complete your action. And this goes throughout Workday tenant, like be it a functional business step that is coming up, be it a warning on the integration. If it is orange, then you can go ahead and that is a warning and that will be highlighted to you. But if it is red anywhere in the setup in Workday, then you won't be able to proceed ahead and it will restrict you and give you the error, not a warning. Okay, so I'll show you how it mattered to us, like selecting the do not show. So now you see the contingent type or the contingent worker type prompt is not available because we selected as do not show at runtime. Only the 2 that we left it as is are available for us. And now you see the start date has a star marked. So this is because this is a, what we say, a required prompt. So if I'll try to run, it will say that it will error out since this is a required prompt. We will have to put a value in this. And so say I want to see anyone who was born since 2000 till date. So if you can select on this calendar field or calendar with the current date available to you or highlighted to you pops up, you can go ahead and select any date from here. But just for this, I'm just going ahead and selecting date. So anyone who's born between 01/01/2000 and till date should be coming up. If you remember, I'll go back and run original report. We have people. Even this, since the data source was similar and we did not have the options to remove the prompts or hide the prompts by selecting do not prompt at runtime. So you say everything is coming up. This contingent worker type is not available to us now. So these are the level of customization we can do while using a advanced report. It was a simple report since there was no filters. We got 707 values, and now if I just before today's date, so there were 707 values, and for our advanced report where we had a filter with people who were having birthdays only after 0101 2000. So it's only 4 values that is coming up. Okay, so this is something where advanced reports come handy to us. We can put a whole lot of configuration, be it filtering, be it prompting. We can change the headers and everything. You can do different kind of using sub filters as well on the advanced things. Like say if you have used multiple business objects within the custom report, you can do a filtering on the related business object as well, but that would be done on the sub filter level. Okay, so if you see the simple report, we had just the headers of the report output would be something like first name, last name, employee ID, date of birth, whatever the name of the field were coming up. And for our advanced report, we change it to F name, L name, AMPL ID, and date of birth. Okay. And one of the other things I would say that's handy is like if you want to export this, you seeing this data in a UI kind of thing, but you want to say later on test it, export it to a Excel. So you just have these options available. You have export to Excel, you have export to worksheet, and if there is a lot of data that is available, you can also do filtering from here on the, say you want to filter on someone who just adds in their name from the data. Okay. So only one of the values comes up. So you can do this kind of playing around the data output from the report, even on the UI. Okay. And if you click on export document and then download it, I don't think we have Excel on this training system. So that's why I won't be able to show you how it will look like. But yes, if you see the extension, download, this is an Excel sheet that has been downloaded. If you have MS Excel on your machines, you'll just go ahead and click on this and it will come up and it will have a similar format. It will have the report name in the first, then the prompt values, and from there on, it will have different headers within the Excel, and then each column will have these headers, and the preceding rows would be having values. So any questions or doubts till now? And whatever we did, how simple report or advanced report looks like.
So in that report, if you are scheduling it, and then this prompts has to have a dynamic value, like every day.
Right. So I think those were certain kind of advanced topics, but
and also there were other options like filter and sub-filter. I think filter probably it's a kind of permanent prompt, but would like to know more about sub-filters.
So sub-filters, as I told you, are something that you can do on the related business object. So if I'll go ahead and say, I remember we used this one of the fields that, or the row in previous examples with the related business object for a worker would be an addresses and then line 1. Okay, address 1. Directly the address line 1 or anything which is available directly on this business object, which is the related business object of worker. If you want to do a filtering on this business object, you cannot do directly on the filter. What you'll have to do is go to the sub-filter, the field, maybe, and then
For sub-filter, do we need to add that business object in column?
Right. Because this is because say I have added one business object right now, right? A related business object. You can have multiple in your report. You can have like 4, 5, 6. As per your use case or requirements, you can have multiple. So you firstly want to specify on which business object you want to filter or do the sub-filtering on. Then only the fields available for this sub-filter will pop up here.
So do we need, so if we don't want that addresses to be populated, but we want some filter like it should be in New Jersey only. So is that possible if we don't include them in the column?
Yeah, even if you say, give an example, right? We have added line 1 addresses, but say I want to do something on
No,
addresses.
I'm saying the
We have not
business object. If there is something like job business object, right? Jobs. So if I don't add it into columns, can I
columns
just put
like
a filter?
here, right? Right.
Yeah.
If you want to,
If-
yeah, you can do that. Similarly, as I'm doing, like say, even the field can be something that you have not selected. Even the business object can be something that you don't want to output it, but you can do the filtering or processing on it.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So say that's we have these.
Can we select multiple business objects in subfilter?
Right. We have this complete this step. Okay. Compensation grade or something as compensation basis for reporting. Okay. So you see now we have not selected in the column, but this is available for us to do a sub-filtering or a filtering. Even for filters, you can do that. I think in the previous class itself, we had discussed that any of the rows or the columns we have not selected in here, we can still put a filtering on, say, I want to filter out on hire date. I can put a hire date filter here. Do the same thing that the hire date is greater than or equal to, I will specify a value this time. Maybe anyone who has been hired since 2020 after 2020. So I can do that, right? And similarly on sub filters, you can have anything which is not available or which you do not want to output, but you want to do a filtering on. And I think the second question was we can do multiple business objects. So this is how we do multiple business objects. You see, there is a sub-level filter 1, then there is a sub-level filter 2. So these are both different business objects. One is addresses, the other is compensation basis for reporting.
Aryan, can you show that field? Like it shows like instance of something like that, right? Class of instance.
Where?
That subfilter. You go back to that subfilter. Yeah.
Okay.
And no, it's okay if you can do any business object, and then in the field we see that class of instance, that kind of filters.
The fields you're saying?
Yeah. If you go to all.
These are the fields. So these are different kinds of as I think we discussed in the like previous. There are different kind of logos available. So this one says self-referencing field that is available as a link to you. This is an effective date. This is a date. It will come up as a calendar logo to you. This is a text. Okay. So all these are text values. There can be true and false. It will say TNF. So all those different kind of, I would say, different kind of fields that are available, and these have their like symbols to help you identify which kind of output or field it will look like.
These subfilters also comes in prompt.
Right, you can have this filtering on the prompt.
So for any prompt, there has to be a filter.
No, it's not necessary, right? Like you can select from here, as I showed you with the hire date example. If you want to have a prompt, you select this comparison type as prompt the user for a value. Otherwise, you can like just map in here. You specified a value, right? Or maybe what you can do is value from another field. Value from another field comes in handy, like you create a calculated field or a dynamic field for report. Okay, now you will put this field in here, or like say, I will say current date or current date plus 12 months, anything which is coming up. So these are dynamic fields which are available. So it will automatically calculate the date and prompt in here. It will not ask you.
And this is the way are you answering the other question of mine, like dynamic values?
Right.
So that
this is one of them. Right. These are the dynamic values. Like fields are created separately. You are just like specifying in here from here. But yes,
to do the dynamic filter.
Right. That's the only way. You have to select the option as value from another field, and then that field would be a dynamic field, right? And then you have to specify in here. I hope that answers you, Prabhu, right?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Yeah. Going back, I think I will remove.
I think I still didn't understand. Like when we create a report with prompts, we wanted to schedule. How is that dynamically being populated?
Maybe say I'll show you by even here. Like we have just. I'll take this example as well. Only I think I have the subfill thing for now. Okay, so we have the original report definition that we created, and what we were doing is like getting the values or prompting the values at the runtime. So if you want to schedule this report and run one, let's see, schedule not no, right? Maybe what I'll do is you can maybe searching this report. I'll use this report in a integration CDIB and then maybe show you with an example. So just schedule on reports enable as web service for the field would come up. Now as we have any transformation will that means so I want to just say you will integrate which is using this custom report. Okay. Now you see the same prompts are available. Now you see will say determine value at runtime. Here determine value at runtime. The same thing you can do using the within and say to from current date minus certain period of month. Date minus 13 months. End date would be today's date. Output now this is scheduled and you'll see the output. It will run with the
At the report level also we can run, right? We can schedule.
we can, but I'm not sure. Is it this or something? Because usually you have the option available here for you to schedule a report or run later. When I'll do it will directly prompt me, right? So that's why it is not coming up. I'll see if the tenant settings are different or the access is different. That's why I showed you the alternate way.
Yeah, can we have a look at the scheduled options in report level?
That's what I'm not having that access to directly show you. I will check why. Otherwise, what we have is like a run from here, and then we'll have a schedule report.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not getting that option currently. Run history is there.
Yeah, it depends upon the tenant, I think.
Yeah, it is like tenant configurable and also my access. If
Okay.
I might not have a direct access to the scheduler integrity.
Yeah.
I'm not able. 1 second, how to download. You see, the report output is available to you in the Oxygen XML editor, a tool or a software that we use to create XSLTs or read our XML. So since the integration default and the output we selected as the default one, it came as an. That's why we'll need an XML editor to do this. Otherwise, even Excel can do it like open with maybe you can open this page. Okay. You see, if I'll run the report with the same kind of parameters, minus 13 months, since there was no one or the no record will pop up. That's why even the report output is blank. So what we ran was something like from current date minus 13 months, so somewhere in 27 December 23 fall, and then current date. When we try to run on the end date is because of the different time zone. So currently the date where the server is set up is in the central time zone, I believe. That's why it's not taking as 28. So you see, even for this output, if we select the start date as minus 13 months, the output is coming as blank. And so was the output for our schedule report via an AIV. There was no output that was coming up. Otherwise, it will come up like XML tags, and then you will see workers in here. And if you want to change that output, we'll see later on. And while we do EIBs, like how a different kind of output can look like. Okay.
Did it popped out automatically, that file name, when you open that XML?
File name as in?
This one you are in.
Yes.
Just by opening it is popping out, right?
No, this is the kind of like the output of the file. These are the headers or the XML headers that we have. So even if the file is blank, if you have selected as an XML, it will give you headers.
Okay. Just by you need to log in, right? No need to log in.
No, that I think what you're confusing yourself with is maybe you have seen this in any of your experiences. What you're seeing is like view URLs. When you go from view URLs and try to run the report and see the XML output, like instead of running it through the integration and then seeing if you want to verify, then I believe you answer. If I will go in here and put, I think even that is not gonna work for me because this tenant is already. So this is where you see a custom report Workday XML, right? So these are the steps to see the XML, how it will look like. Now you have to get the username and password. So for me, since this is an automated login, I do not have the credentials right now.
Okay.
I think one of the key things as integration developers for the rest of the class as well, who did not just follow up on this step, is like this is a custom report we have built. So of course you are not going to use it, the XML, or I would say the Excel output that would be for reporting for the end users. But for integration, you might be using that end output as an XML and consuming it in a studio. So before working on the studio or creating an XSLT, you want the output to work upon for the XML. So this is where you go in, you go to the related actions, you go to the web service, and this is coming up because if you remember, we enable this as a web. If this is unticked, you won't be able to perform this action on any of the advanced reports. Only advanced reports enabled as a web service would be, you would be able to do this action or do this activity. So you go to web service, you go to view URL. Similarly, you put the prompt like you run the report.
We can also call this as RAS reports, right?
Yeah, this is a RAS report. Now, since it is a web service enabled, so it is called a RAS report in Studio terms. Like when you call it in a Studio, actually it will be said calling a RAS. So RAS is a web service enabled report as a service. RAS stands for report as a service. Since it is available to you as a web service, this report you can call it from an external system as well. So yeah, Workday XML, this is where it is coming up, and this is what you want to see because this will be something which will be inputted in your Workday Studio. And now use this URL. If I just copy this URL and open a pad, just want to show you different things which gets handy on your later on stages while doing integration. You see, if you want to call a web report to an external, say, web service to like a Postman or something, you will use this URL. You see, as per this is your tenant report, it is saying this is a current tenant name, Signa DPT1. Then you see this is the report name, your report name. Then after the question mark, whatever we have is a prompt. After the question mark, we have a start date. This is the XML label for the prompt. We had the value specified as 0101 2000, so it is coming up. And after the ampersand sign, there is a second prompt that is coming up, that is end date, and you have the value which is selected. So this is something that comes handy for you. Like anyone else asking, I want to try the source, I want to see how the report output would come like. So these are the web service URLs you need to give, and of course that user would need to get access to Workday. So the access is established as we are seeing on this page, asking for an access. If I'll have the username, correct username and password with the right rights, if I put sign in, it will pop up an XML on the screen. Okay, so everyone did follow this, right? How to see the XML, like report XML from Workday tenant, as well as how a URL for the Workday would look like. Workday report would look like.
Yeah, Aryan. Are we going to have a look at these Postman and iPaaS tools?
No, sorry, that's not the scope of those. Are like, I would say, those are not very complicated things if you learn things like what the URL is, how the URL would look like, because that also comes up while setting out the integration. Some reports through a web service only, a limited part of reporting, like you are enabling the web service URL, but custom reports is something you use in multiple places, like on reporting to an EIB, to a studio as well. Right. The Postman and all, I don't think we even have access on the internet and take on the system, and that's not.
Yeah. We can install that app and have it.
Yeah, we can. But again, if you see, even for us, since these are DPT tenants by ZaranTech, so even the accesses are predominantly configured for me as well. I do not have the username password. Maybe I'll try to get it, and if I'll do it offline, if I'll have that Postman, that Chrome extension available, and try to call it, and if that is successful, I can definitely show you a demo if that's working for me. But for learning purposes, they will not be doing it within that as an activity. Okay.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
So I think any questions from anyone regarding creating a custom report and the different things or the possibilities which we saw from columns, what a column header is, what a prompting can be, how a filter is available to us, how I would say web service enablement can be done, cannot be done.
Can we see more on this advanced tab other than?
Right. I'll talk on each of the tabs now, not just on advanced. So I think for sorting, these are like sorting values based upon the alphabetical order. If you want to sort on any of the, say, first name, last name, then filter and sub-filter is what we already saw. Prompt is something related to filters. And one of the key things for you to remember is populate undefined prompts. So whenever you create a custom report and you first go to the tab, I would encourage you to just click on this tick and it will automatically pull up the prompts which are available directly on the data. And then output is there. So output has different values as as a chart table, as a gauge. So these are like for the UI purposes, but for us integrations, we will be using mostly the XML part of it in our integration.
I have a question. What is the difference between filter and sub-filter?
Filtering is done on the RBO or the the EBO, like the primary business object, this worker, okay? And the filtering is done on any of the RBOs, related business objects, as we saw, like addresses or compensation, right? If you want to do the filtering on that, you cannot directly do from the filter. You'll have to go to sub-filter.
Okay, got it.
Can we have the list of values and the filters?
List of values in the filters, isn't?
Like if we want to include some specific set of jobs.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
ABCD.
Okay. You want to see. Okay, I got it. So say I have employee. Okay. This is a instance field. I will select and then I will put in the, now you see, as I told you in the previous class, that depending upon the field type you select, these operators, we were using date operator, it has equal to, not equal to, is not blank, greater than, equal to. Now since it's an instance field, only instance fields can do that. Like the employees there, if you want to select that from a selection list, I think we did this activity, right? But yeah, now you go, there's value specified in the filter, okay? Now in the filter, if you want to only Logan McLean or anyone whose name, like anyone who has a math in their name, so what you can do is select all. And one of the key tricks I would say for selecting multiple values, or say I want to select all these 4 values, is you put your control button, you select A and then you space. So all these values are automatically get selected. Okay. So I think this is what you were looking for, right? Like we can select values. Okay. So coming to the stay focus on this one, because this is very much important when you see, like, say you created a report and then you want to give it to someone to review, or say you have created a report for the end user, not for the integration purposes. Then this is where it comes up, like they will say, I'm not able to see the report because you have not shared the report definition or the report with. So what we have done is don't share report definition. Then if I'll share with authorized users, all authorized users and everyone who's authorized, who's having a domain access to see custom reports, would be able to see it. Also depending upon their access to different business objects and domains, the data will vary for them. And then we have the third option of share with specific authorized users. Say you want to share it with HR admin, you select the HR admin. Okay, you want to share it with the payroll team. So any kind of roles or groups that have been created in your tenant, you will be able to select in here. And then authorized users, say I want to share it with a particular person like Logan McNeil. So I will select it. All the specific users would go in, groups or the role-based things would go in, and then this is report owned by. So it's currently my user is created in tenant as Tom Brady, and then this is the username. So that's why it is saying report is being owned by me. But later on, say I'm going off and I want to transfer my ownership of this report so that that person becomes the owner and has all the rights and access. So I will put their name and click it, so it will go directly to them. And that report owner will change. I'm not doing this. So that's all the possibilities we can have from the sharing perspective of a report or a custom report. So what I'm doing is sharing this with everyone. You ask you guys to copy, like create a copy for each of you, like each one of you can create a copy of it with your name extension or a suffix, and then do certain activities like we can try to filter, add more rows. But yes, I think that is not currently available. Okay, and I think someone asked me about the advanced, to the advanced tab. See what's there. Sharing, we saw advanced is something you need to see. So advanced is the first thing is on the report performance. If you want to have a optimized report like an index data source only and index fields only, you put the index optimize for performance tick on, and then these are for view purposes. Like these are first column. Say we currently have only 3 to 4 columns available to him, but say you have 20 selected and there would be 20 columns. So you'll not, so like we do in Excel, we freeze the first column so that employee ID remains constant while we are reviewing the data. That's there. And then for web service options, this is the only option which we have, like enable as a web service. And the other thing you can do is like, since this is an automatically generated web service name, maybe you can use any custom name for your purposes or for your ease of selection, and then put in here for the same thing, report, that will become, or the URL of the report that will come as the URL of the report. As we saw, like the notepad, right? We had this CR advanced report birthday employee coming in here, and if we change the namespace from the advanced tab, say if I put Control Z, this was the name that was coming up. So if I'll change this namespace, that URL. Okay, so for our integration purposes, these are mostly the things that concern. Then there are other options like for Prism Analytics and Workspace. So that's not something we'll go with. And then again, this is a temporary report that was being tagged, really, when we created this. So since I told you that it is usually created for a temporary report, is something you do it for testing purposes or for demo purposes, so it will get deleted so the tenant is not overloaded. Otherwise, if it is a permanent report, say you are just doing for a testing purpose and then later on you forget to delete it, will stay within your tenant. So that's why we encourage, if you're doing anything for a demo or like just for testing and you think you won't be needing it after a certain period of time, after a few days, you should use a temporary report on, so that the definition is automatically deleted and you do not like mess up your tenant with so many names and reports being populated.